Was a girl running in our group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford Coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look out, buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
I got to tell you just how busy we are. I mean, busy. Now, I've been there, like I said, 41 years, and I've seen this come and go. I've seen big times where we had to have cars, blah, 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 blah. People back in the 70s with the gas shortage, they wanted better mileage. I mean, we just did everything. But this, right now, because of the car jippers and because of the used car lots and the new car lots, and they're adding money to the prices of the cars, people have had enough. They will not be taken anymore. I get them in my shop every day with 150,000 miles plus, and say, whatever it needs, take care of it. Well, what if it's $2,000? Do it. I'm not buying another car. And $2,000 is nothing if you think about it, Chuck, because $2,000, you're going to pay more than that over sticker to get the car.
That used to be a new engine. Now that's just, a tune-up.
Oh, yeah, that's not much. But, boy, it's enough, though. It's pretty good. I feel sorry for people, but they're putting money into cars that are, I try not to do that. I try to tell them, you know what, this is going to double the value of the car. You're going to be upside down in it. You need to just get rid of this. But then they got to go buy one, and that's what their fear is. And I can't blame them. Right. Going to a car lot right now it's got to be like going into Pancho Villa's den.
And that's the philosophy, George, is that I can either pay way more than I should for a car right now. But what I've said though is, my philosophy is, think about this. Unless you're paying cash, I'm paying over sticker and I'm financing that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I'd much rather invest that money in my car and in you as opposed to send it to a finance company.
I heard they're giving 7-year loans. They're talking about going to 10 just so that they can keep hacking away at people in their wallets.
And we've
just wrong. We're going to have a glut in 5 to 7 years. We're going to have a glut of cars going to the junkyard on the back of a tow truck.
Yeah.
So we better get this economy back in shape.
Right.
We got to get the cars back down where they belong.
Well, the other interesting thing to think about that I don't think we've talked about is I wonder what the average American's miles per year is now. I have a feeling like for me personally, it's at least 50% of what it used to be.
Oh, I know. There's nobody driving.
There was 2 years where everybody's car just kind of sat.
Yeah,
you drove to
the national average now, everybody's working from home.
Right.
You know what it is. They're not putting the miles on. There's no joyriding anymore. Of course, not at $4 a gallon. It's
right.
Not. But there's no. I think I'll run out to this park or whatever. There's none of that.
Right.
People they go to the grocery store and they come home.
That's what I was thinking. People aren't running to the movies, going to the mall anymore. They're not driving to work every day.
Consequently, I have sold more batteries.
Oh, interesting.
Right now, and since the pandemic, I've sold more batteries than I've ever sold.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, here's the deal. You and your wife had 2 cars. One parked in the garage. The other one is during the pandemic. Wow. The other one goes to the grocery store, does all this. So that car just sits.
Right.
Next thing you know, you got a battery that's dead.
But if you were driving every day, you would never notice.
Or just started every 3 days.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But if you let it sit there for a month,
right? Because
there's many little computers on the car that draw milliamps from that battery. So the batteries are stronger than they used to be. They really and truly are. But there's so many draws on them. The memory for the radio.
I usually leave my cell phone charger plugged in and stuff like that.
The memory for the radio is actually the computer. It's its own computer.
Right.
It's crazy. But they got to have all these gizmos, and guess what? It'll draw on a battery. Well, that's fine as long as you're driving it every once in a while. If you're not, you got a problem. And I've sold. You ask Interstate, I'm going to lead the league in batteries this year.
They're going to send you a watch or something.
I know. They'll send me a watch. All right. A guy to watch me. I'm telling you, of course I love Interstate batteries. That's my favorite. I have sold so many of them just since the pandemic and now for cars that are, some of these batteries. I had a lady in the other day, battery was 11 years old, Chuck.
Well,
The date on the battery was 11 years ago.
She said, "Do we really need a new one?"
Yeah, that's what she said. That's exactly what she
I can't
said.
get another year out of this thing.
I got to tell you, it's different.
Because I mean, things are tight. I mean, that's the thing is that, everything is going up. And then, you get to a point where, gas has gone up, your food's gone up. You're just, every single time you got to open your wallet, you're stressing out about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A pack of gum has gone up. Everything has gone up. My parts, oh my God, the prices I'm having to charge people for repairs.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And
I know you don't want to do it. I mean, that's the thing. We all know guys like you, you do what you can.
I've been there
for
too
your
long.
customers.
You know what? You don't last 30 years or 40 years in a small town.
Right.
If there's something wrong with the way you do business.
I have a feeling like in my case, no offense to the dealership, I've been to the dealership like one time. It's like, no, never again. I'm going to George from now on, because again, it's just that even that customer service wasn't there.
Yeah. Well,
The treatment wasn't there.
every time they look at your car, they got to sell you.
Right.
There's a quota.
And that was always the question.
The guy's got to write a $3,000 estimate.
You go to a place like that, I don't know if I really need all those things. I don't really know, is there a better alternative? I know that a guy like you, there's probably, hopefully there's still a big George in every little, community and stuff like that. A guy like you is going to take care of people.
Yeah, we just had a lady in the other day. She went to a dealer for a recall. Mm-hmm. She came back. She had 4 pages of estimates. Wow. And one of them was suspension and tie rods. Nothing wrong with them.
She's probably in tears, right? Saying, do I need all this stuff?
George, I don't have this money. She's
right.
old.
Yeah.
Brakes. She needed brakes all the way around. I told Jake, pull the wheels on this, will you?
Yeah.
He gets the wheels off. One's about half, one's about 3/4, but you don't need anything right now.
Yeah.
This car stops fine.
So we know how you drive. We don't need to brakes.
Well, exactly. She's a little old lady.
Right.
But
from Pasadena.
But that's what dealers do, and they want to know why that nobody wants to go back there.
Right. No, that's the whole thing. Is that again, if you're not an experienced person, that you go in there and go, oh, do I really? Like you said, they're going to tell you on everything, and not a lot of people know enough about cars anymore.
Well, exactly, like that story I just did about the leases.
Right.
The story a couple of weeks ago about all the add-ons when they finance.
Right? Because you go into that room, and again, it's not just you and one person. Now it's like 3 guys in the room with you saying, okay, we got to get this done, and they're pressuring you. Just sign on the line. Don't read it. Don't read it. Just sign it.
I worked at a dealer before I opened my own place, but I was in the back. I was a mechanic.
Right. But I mean,
nobody gives me a quota. Nobody tells me I have to write this up. I wouldn't.
Right.
They knew better.
But I mean, even in terms of sales, I mean, it probably went from a couple pages back then to now it's 50 pages.
Oh God, yes.
And nobody's reading it.
No, nobody reads it.
All the fine print.
She needed everything but a new seat.
Right.
And I told her, you know what? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on up here. I got good coffee. We'll have a cup of coffee. I'll tell you all about it.
Right. So that's the commercial for Unlimited Service Automotive.
Yeah, it is.
We'll get back on.
Yeah.
I derailed your show to promote you a little bit. But
oh yeah. Well, I'm telling you.
Back on target there.
All right, Chuck. We got back to business here. This is good stuff coming up now. BMW has got a new battery. The BMW Group is developing a battery cell that promises to go farther, cost less, and be gentler on the planet. I want to know how that works. The new lithium-ion cell, well, they're not gentler there, will power BMW's next generation Neue Klasse electric vehicle. How do you say that? N-E-U-E. Neue?
I'll have to call it a German.
I need a German for that one. Hans, come over here and say this word. The so-called Gen 6 battery under development at the BMW Group Battery Cell Center of Excellence here in Illinois, or not in Illinois, but in America, delivers up to 30% greater driving range than the current generation, according to the company. A key to the performance is the battery's cell cylindrical shape, said Simon Erhard, who leads the he leads the Gen 6 development at BMW. I got to tell you.
So is it a round battery?
The cells are not flat and square anymore. Okay. Now they're round.
Okay.
Like test tubes.
Right.
I think I saw a prototype of this battery. There had to be 800 test tubes in that little box.
Aren't they worried it's going to roll around in the car?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know anything anymore with these engineers. I just don't believe it. We're going into the cold weather.
Right.
And the electric cars that people bought and are showing off to their friends, I want to know exactly what kind of range you have in the winter.
Well, remember we talked about this last week. Just turn on your electric seats. Don't turn on the heater, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, don't do anything. Don't be comfortable. Whatever you do.
Don't use the electric seats while you're charging it. Just sit there in the cold.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't be comfortable.
Yeah.
They said that these cars were not conducive to cold weather. Now, they were going to make it better. Maybe they did.
Now, the argument I keep hearing is, what happens if you get caught on the expressway in a blizzard and you can't like the old days, turn your car on for a few minutes, keep warm, and turn it off and last for a couple days.
Yes.
So there's a lot of people that have these theories that people are going to die in these
electric cars.
in electric cars because you can't just turn. It's it's not like a toaster. You can just turn it on.
Well, and the other thing is if the heating and cooling system doesn't for the battery. Now there's a heating and cooling system for the car,
right?
But the battery has its own, and the battery has to be kept at a certain temperature, or it is a fire risk. Too cold or too hot. It is a fire risk. So if you're sitting stuck on the expressway, I wouldn't sit in that car.
Yeah.
Not for anything. Because that's just too, if that battery, that lithium gets too cold, poof, off you go. Flame on. Yeah, that's just, I'm telling you, that is how it works. We're going to talk a little bit about a Tesla deal here. This is kind of cool. I picked this up from Automotive News. This came on a special one by itself. It was kind of cool. General Motors dealerships have tapped into a surprising new customer base, Tesla owners who need repairs. Well, if they're certified electric car guys, I mean, GM President Mark Reuss said this month that the company's retailers have fixed 11,180 Teslas over the past 2 years. He didn't say what type of repairs were performed, though. Much of it was likely routine maintenance, with, brakes, tie rod ends, stuff like that, stuff that wears out. Royce attributed the business to GM's dealership network being more convenient and more experienced than Tesla's, and I'm sure they're more experienced. That's a growing business for us, I've got to say, he said during a presentation at GM's Investor Day in New York. It's a new business, which is great. The customers brought their vehicles in to us for service. They know we know, and we have the expertise to fix them. They know that we have the customer service experience that they want also. And they know that we have service bays and the dealerships in place. I don't get where he's bragging about that. I want to know where he gets his parts.
Right.
That's my first thought was...
Elon just delivers them to you. It's a flying car.
Oh, no. Elon wouldn't like this if that was being worked on at a dealership.
But in a way, though, it does help him a little bit because remember we talked about this idea, like especially, there was a time in Indiana, they were saying you couldn't sell cars in this state unless you had at least one facility in the state.
A brick and mortar, yeah.
For somebody like Elon, if you say, look, I've got, if they say, well, now you need 10 in the state of Montana or something, you say, well, I've got arrangements in place. I've got a system in place to deliver parts to certified, repair facilities. And they seem happy about it, and that's the whole thing. I think Elon will look at it as a plus and go, well, look, I don't want to build a Tesla facility a repair facility in the middle of nowhere in Montana. I'm just going to send them parts, make sure that they know what they're doing, send them parts, and then
let the GM dealer fix it. There's a GM dealer or a Ford dealer for the trucks.
Right.
For the pickup trucks in Montana.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The wife wants it. So speaking of George.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I've got some news for you.
I told you, he turns the dials and he turns my screws. He just gets me.
Okay. I'm just saying.
All right. No, go ahead.
For the month of December until the end of this year, Tesla is giving a $3,750 discount, which they're calling a price adjustment, on every Model 3 and Model Y. So I'm just saying.
That's that tax credit that the Tesla people can't get.
The move appears to be to encourage people to take delivery right now rather than wait for the tax credit in 2023.
Yeah.
You called it. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they basically stuck it to anybody that didn't build their car here. But he builds his car here. His car's built in California.
Oh, but so the tax credit's actually $7,500 that goes into effect next year.
Yeah. The tax credit was
okay.
It's $7,500 now for cars made in America. That's the problem. Everybody that's imports are not happy. Well, made by American labor, union labor, excuse me.
Oh, right. That's
union.
what it was. Okay.
And Tesla's not UAW.
Right.
and sooner or later they probably will be, but you know what, it is what it is. All this stuff takes time. What is the hurry? My God, get it right. We are doing stuff for this electric car push that it doesn't make sense. Charles, it doesn't make sense at all. Why are we developing batteries that are fire hazards? Why are we digging lithium, disgracing our planet, or cobalt, just ruining the planet? Why are we digging that stuff and making these batteries to make a car that's supposed to be, that will help the planet? But you still haven't, you got to plug that car in. Remember that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Well, if this is this going to be the EV segment? Because I got another EV story I want to run by you.
Right, give me a minute.
Okay.
Now you know that you can't drive that car that far. I mean, it's not going to happen. And why are we pushing? Why aren't we doing this correctly? Why aren't we doing this by the numbers? It would work a lot better, and it would be easier on the environment. We are killing the environment in our rush to get electric vehicles, Chuck. And now guess what? I got one more question. After where are you going to plug it in? The other question is, what's going to happen to the old battery? They're on fire somewhere. They're going to put a pile of them somewhere and let them burn, because they'll catch on fire again. You dig a hole and put that thing in a hole in the ground. It'll catch on fire. Now they got a couple companies that are talking about recycling, but nobody's come up with a real way to do it.
Here's the problem, though, when you talk about recycling in air quotes in this country, is that usually means we just send a bunch of garbage to like a third world country like Africa. I mean, honestly, that's where we call it recycling. It ends up being, poor children, picking through our old computers and cell phones for gold.
Oh, yeah.
And they call it recycling, and then all they're doing is just,
Africa's one of the places they went to have the lithium mined.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
in China.
So we're going to send back the lithium that we took from you. We're going to send it back, and your kids can tear the batteries apart for us. We call that recycling.
Yeah. See, what are you going to do? Put it back in the hole we made?
Right.
When we dug out the lithium? Come on. That ain't going to work.